Hi guys, when John Cleese was first given his own show on GB News, I was disappointed. I'm a huge fan of the former Python and hotel manager at Fawlty Towers, and while I haven't been following him of late, he has been on the correct side when it comes to people like Donald Trump and religion. His show on GB News isn't great, but it isn't terrible, not as bad as I had originally feared. However, I think like many people who claim to be liberals, John has fallen somewhat into a trap. He doesn't fully understand what woke is, but he knows he doesn't like it. Here he claims that woke has shut down discussion and that this is illiberal. Have a listen.
I'm now going to make a pompous little speech because it's my show. So there. You see, I believe in liberal democracy. Now, I know a lot of people say that liberalism has failed, and I say no. Liberalism hasn't failed. Human nature has failed. There is no plan, no constitution, no set of rules that we human beings can't up. As Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others. Now, the essence of a liberal democracy is that people with different points of view discuss things, and then we hope in an ideal world some consensus emerges that can be acted on. But the woke say, no, we're not prepared to discuss our ideas because we're right. And if we start discussing them, people might suspect there is another point of view. I don't think that's a very constructive attitude. It works. I mean, at least it worked for Pol Pot. It's called authoritarianism. Now, the woke aren't throwing people into prisons, but they are having them thrown out of their jobs. It's the same authoritarian impulse. Oh, sorry for getting serious. Music!
Okay. I think what John is confusing here is woke and dogma. So woke, and I think there's no point actually going back to the original definition because it has completely changed. But for me, woke means common decency, what we used to call common decency. For example, in the past, when somebody was called James, they would prefer to be called Jim, for example. Their parents would call them James when they were in trouble. Their friends would call them Jim. And if your name is James and you prefer to be called Jim, it's common decency to refer to you as the name you would prefer. What's the problem there? What I think John Cleese is worried about is this idea of dogma, like a religious dogma, where this is the way things are and you're not allowed to deviate. But that's not what's the problem here. If you look at woke or what we're talking about when we talk about woke through the prism of common decency, treating people with respect, people being asked, can you please use this pronoun because that's what I prefer? What damage does that do to you? So if we're talking about transgender, if we're talking about other issues, I don't know, about equality, diversity, it's about treating people with respect. And for me, it's fundamental that we treat people the way we would like to be treated ourselves. How many times have we gone to another country, for example, and people have tried to speak our language? This could be considered woke. It's about treating people with respect. Trying to learn the language yourself when you're in that country. Pick up a few words. It's about treating the place with respect, not littering. That's treating the place with respect. It's trying to integrate, trying to learn something about the culture. This is treating others with respect. This could be considered woke. So why is this a problem? And I think the problem here is that the right wing in particular want to focus on wedge issues. They want to focus on something that can divide people instead of actually looking at these issues in a way that is showing others respect. If we look at comments made by John Cleese maybe in the past when he was on different TV shows like Fawlty Towers, this comedy has moved on. People will say, oh well, this is woke, this is cancelling, this is censoring. I think what we should do is we should look at what people used to say in the past and understand that we don't continue to use those types of jokes, we don't continue to use that type of language because it doesn't show respect to others. I'm not an advocate for censoring people. I'm not an advocate for taking a comedy apart, for example. But I think we have to understand that what we say has an impact, but also the position we are in society, also the way we say it has an impact. So if somebody is upper class and they're making jokes about poor people, that has an impact. If you're a man and you're making jokes about women, this has an impact. So I think a bit of understanding is necessary. But this idea that we can't have discussions, I think is false. We can have discussions. We have discussions all the time. But these discussions must include people who we're talking about. That's what we try to do on the podcast, on the Sunday Roast. We try to bring on people and discuss issues that affect them as well, instead of us talking about them and excluding the people. Because the people themselves who are affected by particular issues, they have a better insight than people on the outside. And if that's woke, then I think we're all woke. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.